Bob Joyce was asked one question about Elvis. His answer shocked everyone. It wasn't a stadium. It wasn't a press conference. It wasn't even a particularly significant Sunday at the small Pentecostal church tucked away in Benton, Arkansas, where a man named Bob Joyce had been preaching the gospel for years. The congregation that morning was the usual mix of familiar faces. Elderly couples who'd been attending for decades. Younger families settling into worn wooden pews. A handful of visitors drawn by curiosity they couldn't quite explain. The service had been ordinary in every measurable way. Hymns were sung. Scripture was read. Pastor Joyce delivered his sermon with the same gentle conviction he'd brought to that pulpit countless times before. And then came the moment that would send shockwaves across the internet and reignite a conspiracy theory that refused to die. During the informal Q&A session that followed, a woman in the third row raised her hand. She wasn't confrontational. Her voice didn't carry accusation or mockery. If anything, she sounded almost apologetic, like someone who knew they were about to cross a line but couldn't stop themselves from crossing it anyway. The question came out simply, directly, with the weight of something that had been building for years. Pastor Joyce, are you Elvis Presley? The silence that followed lasted only a few seconds, but witnesses describe it as feeling much longer. Some congregation members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Others leaned forward, suddenly alert in a way they hadn't been during the sermon. And Bob Joyce himself, this tall, broad-shouldered man, with features that bore an uncanny resemblance to an aged version of the king of rock and roll, paused in a way that seemed almost theatrical. His expression flickered with something difficult to read. Amusement, perhaps, or recognition, or the careful calculation of a man choosing his next words with extraordinary precision. What he said next wasn't a denial. It wasn't the dismissive laugh you might expect from someone confronted with an absurd accusation. Instead, his response carried a strange warmth, an almost playful ambiguity that gave believers exactly what they needed while offering skeptics just enough deniability to maintain their position. He acknowledged the question without truly answering it,